welcome back. If you don't understand what is happening here, watch the previous episode. If you don't understand why we are next to each other instead of across the screen, just watch the previous episode. What's this episode going to be about? So you're talking about a few topics. So I think the main focus is going to be relationships and talking about possessiveness and ownership in relationships, how people feel like it's my partner, my wife, my husband, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, and talking about the transition to being with someone instead of having someone. So that is one topic. And then a natural transition from that is the cliche phrase of you complete me or we complete each other, which all of this to me is in the domain of toxic codependencies like this, and going from we complete each other to we enhance each other. So we are complete in ourselves and we enhance each other. And the third topic was
expressing your emotions and feelings.
And not yours. No, there was another topic. So the third topic, which I remembered a day later, was again based on the last two topics, the phrase of falling in love and how can that be shifted to rising in love. Because again, it's this whole mindset of losing yourself, whereas rising in love is when you are already complete in yourself, when you have found yourself, and love or relationships or everything make you rise to another level. So that will be another topic that is already recorded in the episode, but I just want to add that phrase of rising in love instead of falling in love. So how did this all begin?
Well, just what you just said, it reminded me of my last relationship, actually. And I'll go a little bit with my private life. So it reminded me of my last relationship with someone I was with for over a year. And we ended a relationship because it felt like we were living parallel lives, and it felt like we were not fully in each other's lives. We were not fully together. And we were kind of dating, kind of boyfriend, girlfriend type of situation, but somehow something was missing. So I ended it. And then a couple of months later, we got back together. And that was because I expressed my needs, that I wanted to be like a union. I wanted to be a relationship that has some kind of a common ground, that we are there for each other fully. And my partner then said, okay, well, here are the keys of my house. And basically he put himself in this position of being almost like, boyfriend duties. Like, now I'm supposed to do all the right things in this relationship. And what happened is that 2 months later, he ended the relationship because it was too much for him. And basically, this reminds me exactly what you were talking about, that what happened there was that we didn't allow the relationship to just naturally unfold, because our connection was great. And actually, in so many ways, it was a very profound, very deep relationship, very deep love. But somehow there were certain dynamics in the relationship that made him, in that sense, feel trapped, as if now he's supposed to do certain things and he's trapped in this relationship, and now he is committed to something that he actually doesn't want to be committed to. And then guess what? Right after he broke up with me, our relationship got better than ever. Like, literally, it was the best relationship we ever had. It was so deep. It was so loving. It was so unconditionally accepting. And it was really, really, really awesome. Now, from my side, it was still something was slightly missing because of this, like he felt a little bit distant in a sense, because he seemed to have some kind of an issue with commitment, or some kind of an issue with being avoidant, to share his emotions fully. But long story short, that was a representation of what a trap it can be to be in a relationship where it's just a matter of a structure and building it within that structure, within that container. And if you want to feel free and to feel like, okay, now we are two singles who happen to love each other and who happen to be somewhat still together, but then still we are two individuals who are free, who are living their own individual lives, and they chase their own dreams and they pave their own paths. That enabled so much more than it was before, when it was trapped in that structure. So that's just kind of giving an example, a real life example from my own personal life, that reminded me.
I think it's one way of framing it is, when you expressed that need, he came from a place of obligation. Oh, now I have to fulfill this. I have to fulfill this need because she expressed it. It's not coming from a place of, maybe it's also, there is some part that you want to fulfill the need, but the added burden of having to fulfill the need makes it toxic. So that is the thing that a lot of people are not able to lift, is the burden of obligation and expectation of how you're supposed to be in a relationship. And again, instead of meeting this way, that we are two complete people enhancing each other, it becomes like this, that we have to complete each other, we have to fulfill each other's needs, and you have to do this for me and I have to do this for you. And that again just becomes a prison, where who wants to live in a relationship which is a prison? Eventually it will just become too uncomfortable that you start fighting, or you have to separate, or whatever. If you just keep forcing it, it won't work.
Exactly. And even coming to that place, like in that example, we could only come to those last few weeks before I came to Brazil, to a really, really beautiful, profound connection, because of the expressed needs, because of the expressed emotions, and because of full honesty and full transparency. And that was even, we talked about exactly that with him, when we were like, what the hell is actually going on? How come suddenly everything is so beautiful and everything is so effortless and so easy and so loving and so accepting? And what is it? And we were like, well, it's because we really talk. We don't pretend, we don't act, we don't perform, but we really, really talk from a place of truth and from a place of purity. And it was not easy. It was not something that came naturally right away. But as soon as one of us started speaking up about what the needs were, then the other person started responding the same way. That vulnerability started flourishing and started being the foundation for something really, really deep and beautiful. So without the transparency and without the honesty and without speaking up, none of that would have happened. And I think that's the issue that happens in so many relationships for so many people, especially in long-term relationships, where people just stop talking. They talk on a surface level, but actually the deeply rooted needs and desires and interests and whatever is going on for them is not openly communicated, which then creates even more suffering and even more resentment and anger and so many other negative emotions that actually doesn't help not the person but the relationship itself, and is just destroying everything.
Another thing also is that in detoxifying a relationship, it's, when you express a need, when you express your feelings, again, it's not about taking ownership for the other person's feeling. It's about, okay, that is what the person feels. What is my responsibility there? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? But also, what do they need to change? They need to heal something in themselves. Also, it's a couple, right? So both are bringing something to the table there. Both need to do some healing. So that for me is detoxification. It is two individuals who both need to heal something in whatever is happening. If one person has an issue, there is a complement in the other person, that there is something attracting or balancing. And maybe the other person has already done the healing for something, and the other, like one person just needs to complete. But usually there is that attraction of it. Okay, if this is incomplete in me, that is how it is being met over here also. And we both need to do the work there. Yeah.
Always two people. And I think it's such a common pattern also for people to be like, oh, it's them, it's they're doing the thing, or it's me, it's always me, it's my fault. But actually, I like every single time I ever had a conflict with anyone, I would always remind myself and the other person or other people that it's always everyone. It's everyone plays a role in any conflict, because only when you rise above the conflict, you are actually above all that shit that actually usually doesn't matter anyway. So where is the conflict coming from? It's coming from some kind of deeper issue, some kind of deeper pattern. And when you realize, oh, I'm just playing a role now, okay, you can rise above it and speak from a different place.
Yeah, so that was one topic, was how to be two independent people in a relationship. And I think it's interesting also what you said, before y'all were living parallel lives and kind of connecting in between. But that's also not what it is when you're two independent people in a relationship, is that you're actually really together, that you can be together and enhance each other and have your individuality. So it's not we have to live separate lives and meet once in a while. It's that, how do we learn to live together?
Yeah, that's very, very important, because really at the time, and it took me at least 6 months, I would say, in that relationship to realize, wait a second, we're just kind of two individuals hanging out together. And I don't want it to be that kind of dynamic. I want it to be deep. I want it to be a union, a partnership, a companionship, like partners in crime type of thing, where indeed it's a matter of being individuals who do their own thing, but at the same time we are also partners and doing things together. And it's like it's much more complex and much more close and allowing the freedom to do whatever it is that you want to be doing, which makes all the difference. And yet also what came up for me now, a lot of people would ask, okay, so at the very end, before coming to Brazil, it was so great. And some people would be like, why the hell did you go then? Why the hell did you leave? Why, like, what? It doesn't make any sense. And I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine in Lisbon before coming to Brazil exactly about that some people tend to function around relationships. Relationship is the center of their life, and everything else is just kind of supporting that relationship. Now, for me personally, and for that person that I was with, it's the opposite of that. It's I am creating my reality and I am doing whatever it is that I feel is the right thing to be doing. And then if that relationship fits and it fits both of us, then it's great. But if it doesn't, then I'm happy by myself. So basically, that relationship is so healthy that it's just a cherry on top. But other than that, I'm already happy. I don't need a relationship. There's no neediness in it. That relationship is just enhancing, like you said, the overall experience of life. And that is the difference. Like, and I wonder, what would you say, what's the difference between when a person is focusing on themselves first versus when the relationship is in the center and everything else kind of is around the relationship?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning 2 episodes back, like I am not a relationship expert. I'm not a relationship coach because I've not been in an adult relationship first. And my only relationship was when I was a teenager. But at the same time, I have worked with a lot of people in relationships. I've seen a lot of relationships. And I think it's about finding that balance, like, of course, a relationship is part of your life. It is important to you. So you will want to do things. You will pay attention to the words I'm saying. You will want to do things to, to keep a healthy relationship, to have a healthy relationship. It's not, I have to do things to have a healthy relationship. It comes from there that it is important to you. It is something that you feel inside. You want to nourish the relationship. Whereas for a lot of people, they look at the relationship as something that will nourish them. The relationship is filling a void, a hole inside them that they feel incomplete and they need the other person or the relationship. Becomes like a drug to complete them. They just need more and more and more, and they just keep sucking the life out of the relationship till it's nothing. It's just a hollow thing where no one is really enjoying anything over there. That's
Again, it's
my
an
take.
obligation then. Yeah, it's an obligation. And yet, when I had that conversation with this friend of mine in Lisbon, she was like, yeah, but for some, it in particular was her boyfriend who basically his entire life is around relationships. Overall, it doesn't have to be about romantic relationships only. It's also with parents, with kids, with friends, with anybody that's actually playing a significant role in your life. And then she said, yeah, somehow for him, that's what works. It makes him happy. It makes him happy to focus on his relationships, to make people happy, to make himself happy, to be in healthy relationships and cultivate that, where somehow it gives him some kind of maybe fulfillment even. But then I wonder, maybe there's also something deeper there. Maybe there could be some people-pleasing patterns and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be, but it could be the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, of course, it varies from person to person. From each relationship has its own unique elements and wounds and traumas and toxicity and healthy aspects too. But yeah, I think generally speaking, what we are saying applies.
So what about expressing your feelings?
You seem very eager for me to express my feelings only. The other topic that you're going to talk about was ownership in relationships, being possessive.
Well, we just talked about it, no?
That is more about completion, like this aspect of it. Whereas ownership is more like this aspect of it. It's mine, it's my girlfriend, it's my boyfriend, it's my partner. I also don't particularly like the terms boyfriend and girlfriend because for me it's very much like a teenage romance.
It's just English language didn't come up with better words than boyfriend, girlfriend. It's like, what if you're 60 or 70 and you're dating and you have a girlfriend or boyfriend? Like, partners. What?
I like the word partners more than girlfriend and boyfriend.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. For me, I think it's very subtle, it's very unconscious, but also, it keeps that, like, we are children in a relationship versus adults in a relationship. Again, upgrading that language consciously it forces you to think that, yes, I am not a boy and a girl in a relationship. I am an adult in a relationship. Let me come with that energy. And the same with the language of, you are my boyfriend, you are my girlfriend. When you realize that what you're basically saying is that I own this person in the relationship, now suddenly you have to change your language. if you can't use that and you start realizing there is no language almost, you have to make a lot of effort to start communicating to people. Oh, this is my boyfriend. I can't say that anymore. So what do you say? I'm with this person. It's a completely different energy. It's a completely different tone. It's that I am with someone versus I have them. They are mine. So it is a complete individual. I am a complete individual and I am with them. We are meeting each other in that way versus they're mine and they have to do what I want. They have to do what I expect. They have to fulfill my needs. So it comes from that place of insecurity, in my opinion, is that you have to control the other person. You have to own the other person. You have to make this lifelong vow that you will not leave me. Or like, make a promise to me and sign a paper saying you will not leave me. But if you come from a secure place, your marriage is not based on that paper saying you promise not to leave me. It's that, okay, if you don't want to be with me, if this is really done, okay, I let you go. You are your own person, I'm my own person. What was there was precious, but it's time. It's time to move on. So for me, the culture, the way it programs people is it programs people into deep insecurity that you have to make these vows and you have to make these promises and you have to keep them even if you don't really want to. Even if you're not happy, you have to keep it because I made a vow. I have to be a good person who keeps their promises. Fuck that. I mean, why are you really doing it? Just because people will think something, people will say something.
The thing is that most people don't realize that it's not just a one-time choice to become a boyfriend, girlfriend, but it's an everyday choice to choose that person or to choose to be with that person. And a lot of people take it for granted then. It's like, oh, but it is my boyfriend, girlfriend, and we are a couple, and this is a commitment. No, you commit every single day, and you can actually change your mind every single day. Now, what does it mean then for marriages? You can choose to work on your healthy relationship, on your healthy marriage every day. You can choose to put in the effort and basically be your best self in that relationship every single day. So it's something that's why so many marriages and relationships collapse, why so many marriages and long-term relationships especially are not fulfilling, not something that people actually want, and they dream of something different, is because they don't choose it every single day. They take it for granted. Everything just, happened to be this way. And then they put themselves in victim shoes and, okay, this is what's happening to me. Okay, but what's your role? What's your responsibility? Aren't you playing a role in that relationship? Like, if there are two people in a relationship, then you probably also are very significant there. So do your part. Take care of your side of the street. And if you start doing things this way, if you start approaching your relationships that way, that every single day I am doing my absolute best, it's almost like a game with yourself that you can play. Like, how can I be the best version of myself today so that I serve myself and others in the best way possible from the right place, so that it doesn't come from a place of insecurity or doubt or fear or shame or guilt or anything like that, but from a place of unconditional love. And that changes everything when it's not just a gamble. It's like, okay, I'm doing it consciously, I'm doing it intentionally, I'm choosing that person. I have committed to this person because I want to commit to this person today. And tomorrow, probably it's going to be the same. But if it feels different, I will be transparent with myself to do things accordingly.
And also, just to make it clear that this doesn't mean that the relationship will always be happy and perfect. The whole point of this is that there is space for pain, there is space for discomfort, there is space for imperfections, there is space for the other person to have their darkness. But that is part of the expectations going into the relationship, is that you don't have to be perfect all the time, and we can work on it. We can get to know each other and evolve together. So it's not just, well, you keep your shit to yourself and I keep my shit to myself. That's also not how a relationship is ever going to work. Is you have to learn how to work together, not like this, but like the meeting each other in productive, but not productive German style, but like in a healthy way.
Yeah. That's the beauty of it also, to create a safe space in a partnership where imperfection is welcomed, supported, and loved. And to me, that was the beauty also in that last relationship, that anything was good. Like I was accepted and I was accepting of everything and anything, with my boundaries, of course. There were, I remember in the very beginning of that relationship, I was setting some clear boundaries. Whenever he would start speaking in a way as if he knows better or something like this, and I was like, that's not how you talk to me, mister. And I was literally setting some boundaries very, very clearly, that, okay, this is who I am and this is how I want to be treated. And this is what my value is. This is how worthy I am. If I see this worthiness, then I will express that this is who I am. And if you are able to meet me there, then great. And if you're not, then probably it's not the right relationship to begin with. So as soon as I said, like, listen, these are my boundaries, this is how you're not going to treat me, this is something that I will never accept, and this is how you like, basically how I want to be treated, this is what I appreciate, this is what's important to me, these are my, let's say, love languages, for example. Then if he is able to meet me there, wonderful. That's what makes a healthy relationship also, where it's yeah, that vulnerability and the needs expressed and all of that is welcomed, is appreciated, and the other person is also able to hold space if you're not maybe feeling the most worthy that day. Maybe you are facing some insecurities, and maybe something got triggered inside of you and you feel vulnerable in that moment. Great. If that person is able to hold that space and to support you and to give love to you, especially in those moments, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So is there something more to say about possession and ownership in relationships? Just to conclude it, that yeah, I take ownership and responsibility for my stuff, but this doesn't mean I have to keep everything to myself. And I don't have to take on ownership of the other person and their stuff, but I can hold space for them and allow myself to ask for help, receive help, give help without making it something toxic. So everything is an evolution. A lot of people think that they have to go to the other extreme, is that, oh, if this is toxic, I have to start doing the opposite. No, you have to start doing something in between. You have to learn how to reach that healthy place which is in between. So it's not that, oh, I was dumping all my needs on the other person, now I have to keep all my needs to myself. No, I have to learn how to address my needs and ask for help and allow myself to receive help without the other person taking on everything. So it's just training how to be in a relationship, how you train a child to ride a bicycle. You train adults how to be in a healthy relationship. Yeah. And now coming to the topic that you are very excited for. So, well, about 3 weeks ago now, when we recorded the third episode, which was about loving intensely and living fully, that was the title of my episode. One of the things that we started the episode with was that I love very intensely, and usually it's not received, and it's only received by animals fully. And most of the people find it too intense. People usually find it too intense, and I have to either buffer them or they leave. And we were having a conversation, and during the conversation in that episode, something started opening up for me. And just to give some background, like I said, I have only been in one long-term relationship, which was about 3.5 or 4 years when I was a teenager. After that, I had a few dating scenes, and then I was with this other woman, but it was more complicated because she was with someone, so it wasn't clear what it was. So there was love there, but again, there was no real proper relationship. So I had not been in a proper relationship for almost 14 years, and it was 9 years since even that last uh, intimate experience. So I had built up this whole identity of being a single person, and I had turned off the whole romantic side of myself and relationship side, and I was I was very complete and being a single person. I was very happy being with myself. I was able to enjoy myself, and I was not really thinking that something is missing. So that is why I was able to go 9 years without having any real intimate relationship. In a romantic sense, I had other relationships which were fulfilling me in different ways. I had deep friendships. I had other kinds of experiences, but I did not have that romantic aspect alive or strongly alive. And then in that episode, while we were talking about love so much, something started opening up. And then I had another conversation with a few friends of mine later that day, where basically the whole shell I had created of the single person exploded. And all the romantic feelings, all the romantic feelings started coming out very strongly. And they were very directed towards her. So by whatever sequence of events, we did not speak for 8 days. We were chatting a lot over messaging, but we were not talking because you had a friend over living with you. So that was very good because it gave me a lot of time to process all these feelings. It was 9 years of romantic feelings coming up like a volcano that took me a long time to process everything. Long time means 8 days. And 8 days later, so 7 days later, the next week, I had another conversation with the same friends of mine, and I was expressing to them everything that had been coming up, everything that had been happening, and I was still not clear, what to do with all of that. And I was like, I don't even know if I will tell Ruta anything. I will just see what happens. Anyway, next morning, you messaged me. Let's chat. We started chatting. You're talking about some stuff. And then towards the end of it, one of the things you were talking about was that I did open up the romantic side. I did not still tell you that it was about you, but I did say that, that whole side started opening up.
It was really interesting, actually, that conversation. I don't remember exactly the entire conversation, but at the very end, we were kind of complete. Like, okay, it's done. And I was like, do you have anything else? Like, should we just, is it over? Like, and then he's like, I have something to share with you.
So I decided, like, since I had already expressed, that the romantic side opened up after 9 years, and I was processing all of that. And one of the questions that you had posed during the third episode was, is it the person or is it the archetype? And that was a fantastic question for me because I really played with that question for those 8 days when you were not talking. That is it you or is it what you represent or what is it? And in the fourth episode, I was referencing all of this without actually directly saying what we are talking about. So, I was saying that it helped me to understand that how I feel with you is what I was really enjoying a lot. That was a whole new dimension for me of realizing that it's not only what I want the person to be, it's how I want to feel when I'm with the person, it's how I want the dynamic to feel, the exchange.
Bear in mind, we only spoke how many times at that time?
6, 7 times.
6, 7 times online. We've never met each other in
Yes.
person.
Yeah, so that it was all very crazy because basically talking for 6 hours in total, probably at a maximum, not even that maybe, all these feelings started opening up. And in the 6th or 7th time, I was talking to you. And after,
Can you maybe pinpoint what was it that made you feel like, okay, I want to feel this way in a
like I told, that happened later. That actually happened while you were recording, or just before you were recording the 4th episode, that I started realizing that when I was trying to distinguish, is it the archetype or is it the person? One of the things I was like, is actually one of the lines that came up for me was that love is when the person becomes the archetype. And that's something I told you, is that before that, there is this mental model of what I want the person to be, where you can have your basic criteria and then you start becoming more specific. Oh, he should look like this, she should look like this, he should have this bank balance, she should have this job, whatever. You create this mental model of what you want the other person to be. And for me, what I realized, what I was experiencing was that in love, the person was becoming the archetype. Whatever the person is for me is what I am enjoying, what I'm experiencing. And then when I was trying to figure out more of what it is that I'm enjoying while talking to you, was that I was actually enjoying how I feel, how open I can be. And that I started realizing after I was able to express what I feel about you to you.
Then it was 1,000 times more.
So at the end of the conversation, when she asked me the question of, well, is there something more you want to share? I don't think you were expecting it to be that.
No, of course not.
And I was also not really sure if I'm ready, if I want to say something.
It just came out of the blue. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
To say something that intense and that vulnerable to someone I've spoken to maybe 6 times. But at the end of the conversation, I was really feeling very comfortable. I was feeling very okay to be vulnerable. And I was just like, you know what? I don't care. Like I feel like not expressing it is a bigger betrayal to myself and to you, because if, like I don't want to have this hidden secret and I'm feeling all these things and they start manifesting in unconscious ways, in some manipulation or pretending, or what will she think if I say this and what will she think if I say that, and I have to say the right things and blah blah blah. It's like when you are hiding all those things, you want to manipulate the other person to like you and all of that. So for me, saying what I felt was the opposite of all of that. It's like, okay, if I am not putting any expectations on expressing all of this. If she finds it too uncomfortable and she just says, okay, thank you for saying that, and I'm hanging up the call, okay. If she says nothing and she just runs away and she decides never to talk to me again, okay. Whatever she says for me is okay. I'm not going to put any expectations on that, and I'm not going to hold myself back because of those fears, because of whatever my mind is saying about all these things. And so I expressed myself, and you were just wonderful in receiving it without neither reciprocating it nor rejecting it, and just saying that, thank you for sharing that. And for me, that was amazing because it was something completely unexpected. And I love to be surprised. So I started liking you even more after that. But the whole thing was that yeah, like I allowed myself to take a big risk, which was a risk for my mind and somewhat for my heart also. But it was just about being authentic. I realized that for me, being authentic was much more important than anything else. than wanting to have you or wanting to have you. Like literally, like that is where the ego comes from. Oh, will she be my girlfriend if I say this? Will she run away if I say this? Will I be able to have her if I don't say this or say this? I was just like, I don't actually care. I don't even know what I feel about you, how much I really feel. What do I want from all of this? Right now, the only thing I want to do is express how I feel. I'm not even saying I want something. I'm just like, okay, this is how I feel.
Bam.
Bam. And then what happened for you? Because you said that was something new for you too, because you had been experiencing the opposite of that, or like whatever I was describing as the alternative of people not being open.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Bam. So for me, what was really powerful in that experience was not only that you did express your feelings openly without hiding, which in my experience has happened quite a bit, where people would pretend to be just friends. And I had quite a few male friends who then turned out to have developed some romantic feelings for me, which they just hid for quite a bit. And it didn't feel right somehow. Whenever it came out, it was like, why did you hold it as a secret? And like it just felt so much more authentic and so much more real. And I think it deepened also our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it did for me. That okay, now we're really being transparent. Like I said earlier in my previous relationship, that was the thing that was missing, the full transparency. And here I was presented with like, wow, this person right away shares how they feel, and I react the way I react, and there are no expectations. And that to me was like, whoa. Like somebody tells how they feel, shares that they like me, that they're developing some feelings about me, towards me, and yet it doesn't mean anything moving forward. Like there's still free space to go in any direction. And that to me was the most powerful and the most incredible thing about it, because we even spoke about it in one of the episodes. Where is the line between a friendship and something more, when it comes to love, when it comes to man and a woman, when it comes to like in any, it doesn't really matter the genders, but where's the line? And to me, it just opened this door to exploring what it means to just go with the flow and let it unfold. And now I'm here in Brazil and I don't feel like there's any expectation. And that's the beauty of it, that I can be here feeling safe and feeling like I can be myself, and without feeling like, oh, I have to do something now differently because he likes me, or I need to feel some kind of a expectation because maybe he expects of me. Like, no, it's just the way it is. And I think that's the beauty of accepting it for what it is and allowing anything to happen and anything to unfold and grow and unfold, because at the end of the day, we still barely know each other, which is crazy.
And apparently, only apparently, she has no feelings. So. She has no feelings, nothing, like not even anything.
Not even anything. Well, what I can say, and that's what I keep on telling him, that I feel that I'm allowing my Germanness to just really fade away and to go with the flow and to surrender to that flow. And that's why I'm also touchy. Like we hug and we hold hands sometimes and things like that. And I think that's the beauty, to feel comfortable that it doesn't have to be that line, that this is how it's supposed to be. Now, if he likes me, now I have to like you back immediately or something like that. It's like, I like you as a person, and that's for now, that feels like the right thing, and it feels organic. It feels fulfilling also somehow. And even a couple of days ago, we were walking in a local town, and he even said something around the lines that it feels so great that it doesn't have to be now suddenly like, oh, we are a couple or something.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's actually that phase where we are, that there's something really beautiful in the unknown, that I am where I'm at, and you are where you are, and we both know where we both are, and we talk about it, and it's just really fascinating. So
I think one of the big things that happened in that experience where I was expressing myself was that it created a very deep trust in that, knowing that there is no hidden agenda, that this is purely what it is. And that is why when 4 days later, only 4 days later, I invited you to come to Brazil, a crazy invitation even for me. Like, I don't usually do that. I don't invite people to come to Brazil. But I felt the trust with you, and you felt safe enough to say, yeah, sure.
So I think what's really important to point out again is it doesn't happen just like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a manifestation of us having done a lot of work and really feeling intuitive about the decisions we're making, and feeling where the other person is coming from as well. And I wouldn't have accepted the invitation if I didn't feel like you are coming from the right place. So if I felt like, oh, he just confessed his feelings to me, and now suddenly he's inviting me to Brazil, so there must be something hidden there. No, I knew that there's freedom somehow. I knew that there is no expectation, and I even asked you also, can you please confirm that to me, because I knew that was the case, but I just wanted to have even more confirmation. And you said, just to make it crystal clear, I'm not inviting you here because of some hidden agenda or something going on there, and like you said earlier, manipulating something. Mm-hmm. But I'm just purely inviting you from a place of, I just feel like it's the right thing to do, and it's the right thing for me to do it, but it's the right thing for you, because seems like maybe Brazil is your next step in your own journey. So yeah, so that wouldn't have happened, like, even if you would have invited me, I don't know, like if we would have known each other like 2 years ago, for example, like I wouldn't be in that place to be able to notice even like the subtleties, because it's very subtle. Mm-hmm. And that trust came very quickly because of the subtle instinct that's very, very intuitive, and it's like, okay, I know that it's the right thing. I know that we will manage. I know that we will navigate this relationship, this friendship, this connection that we have in the right way. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be some kind of a sabotage or some kind of a hidden pattern that now suddenly comes up. No, we will manage it in a very mature, beautiful, loving way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me also was, like when I invited you, I still didn't know if I want anything. I know how I feel, but I have been 9 years sober from being in a relationship. I don't know if I want to get back in a relationship.
You're a virgin, basically.
Basically. Like, I was actually saying this to Lise, the other co-host you may have seen on my podcast, but you know her now, that I was telling Lise, like, I really feel like this, for me, because I've changed so much in the last 8 years, for me, this is the first time I'm having an experience of a relationship, because who I was 8 years ago was a completely different person. I feel no connection to who that was, and that way of relating to people was so different that I could never, one of the things you said to me I don't know if it was on the same day or the next conversation, that when I expressed myself to you, you also felt like there was no shame in saying that whatever I said. And that was very true for me, that I realized after you said it that a lot of people, including myself from 8 years ago, have these programs, have this shame of, oh, I like her. There is something wrong about that in the culture, where you can't just purely like someone and you have to add all this baggage. Oh, if I like her, it means this, and this is what I'm supposed to want from liking her, and this is how she's supposed to react to it. So I feel like all the work I did in the last 8 years of clearing out that programming allowed me to just be so natural in expressing myself. And even the thing, when you ask me the question of, can you confirm, can you reassure that this invitation is not coming from a place of romance? I told you, yes, the invitation is not coming from there. At the same time, I have made it clear to you that I like you. You are someone special in my life. And not only you, but anyone who is special in my life, I do special things for them. And that is who I am. I'm always going to do that. And me liking you is going to have some extra layers of what I will do and how I will feel and behave. But I will do all that still without expecting you to reciprocate anything or want something or anything. Okay, I feel like doing this for you. I do this for you, and that's it. I just did it because I wanted to do it, not because I wanted you to do something back or expected something back.
And that's the beauty of it, being detached from the outcome and being detached from, oh, how is she going to respond to it, and what is going to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like what we talked about earlier. It's just a cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
And just having me in your life and vice versa is already a cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's it. Like whatever happens next is whatever happens next. But
so
you're not
interestingly,
attached.
it's Monday, so it's exactly 2 weeks since we had that call where I expressed whatever I felt to you.
That's so true.
And today we are doing this. So anyway, the last 2 weeks have been crazy for both of us. A lot of shifts internally, like going through this whole experience has changed both of us significantly, opened up new dimensions, new aspects of each of us. So yeah, in one sense, also the journey is just beginning, and it's that for me is the beauty of it. Is I was telling you that had you just reciprocated in the normal way of, oh, I like you or I don't like you, and had it ended there, it would have just killed the magic of everything that happened in the last 2 weeks. Like the fact that you actually said yes to come to Brazil even without having romantic feeling, for me was so special. It was that, wow, I can have that level of a friendship where someone just trusts me to say yes to such a crazy invitation. And we can have all these experiences knowing exactly, like you said, how we feel about each other, communicating that, and just enjoying that, like enjoying these experiences in this state of the relationship as it is so special. Instead of just being like, oh, they are a couple and they just do all the normal couple things. No, like that is so dry, that is so robotic, that is so much in the program. Like I would never enjoy that. So I am super happy that you are this way and reacting this way, and whatever it is, wherever it goes doesn't really matter. But like I told you, even after the second day of you arriving here, if you decide to leave tomorrow, just these 2 days of experience was totally worth it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also, as I work a lot with my clients on relationship topics, I think this is a perfect example of something that's currently seen as unconventional, but in my personal opinion, this is the beauty of true relationships, where it's based on trust, it's based on communication, it's based on just being transparent and honest and honor each other's space and be true to ourselves and the other person. So and plus respect, like respecting the other person accepting them for who they are. That's basically the cornerstone of everything that I personally believe in, and that's what I work with my clients on, to kind of unpeel that onion of all the misconceptions of how relationships are supposed to be. Because we are taught, like you keep on saying, programming, like those programs keep on running, but actually this is a perfect illustration of unconventional relationships which can still work. And yet again, it's not a box. It can always change and shift and transform, and that's the whole beauty, and that's the surprise factor, and that's the excitement of just existence itself. Like, how boring is it when, indeed, if I would have said right away that this is how it is, then the magic would have just, be missing. So
that is why you are extra special, and I have that love for you.
Oh, but
But the other thing is, like, if you want to talk about it, since you don't have any feelings, the other thing that you said is that there is a deeper love also, like apart from the romantic aspect, there is a love shared that's not only from my side, apparently. If you want to talk about that.
You want some feelings being expressed.
Well, since you have been so eager about me express it.
Yeah, so I did tell him that I do feel love, and I feel like there's a lot of love between us. There's this kind of love bubble situation where there's, because of this unconditional acceptance and trust and respect and acceptance, and just somehow the communication is so effortless and so easy, and there's a lot of care for each other, and like even little things, like when I arrived, you did so much for me, like, I don't know, you took care of me, picking up me from the airport, and buying a SIM card for the phone, and when I got sick, you brought me fruits to eat, like little things, and it just felt like, okay, there's a lot of depth in our connection and our friendship, and of course that is love. To me, that is love, where it comes from a place of, because I am love, but because you, again, also, like, you are able to receive it, and I am able to receive yours, and that's why it feels like a love circle, almost like it flows through us all the time. And if I compare that to relationships in my past, where I called something love, I thought that I loved someone, it was more like I was loving an image of them. I was loving what I thought they represented, what I thought they were supposed to be, or how I saw them, but it wasn't actually real. It was more of I was putting something on a pedestal, and I was just like, oh, I love this thing. While here, it's more humane, it's more embodied, and it comes very profoundly from a really deep place, simply because we are raw. And that's the love that I experience with you. That it's very raw, it's very real, it's something that's, I can be myself fully. And I think that's probably the same for you. And that's the love that I feel, that we both can be ourselves. We can both be authentic. We can both say what we want to say, how we want to say it. And we know that we're not going to be judged. And I think this is probably one of the key aspects in any healthy relationship, that unconditional love is when you know that you're not going to be judged. Like, anything is fine. It doesn't mean that you can walk on my head. Yeah. There is a mutual respect at the same time. Yeah. And also, I just want to add that, for me, because of all the work I have been doing on myself, and because I had turned off the romance for 9 years, it's not like I was not feeling love. I was in a very deep space of unconditional love.
And the only thing that was not there was that extra flavor. It's like, you have a dish, and the only thing missing is maybe one ingredient, one spice, one herb. The dish is still great even without that, but you add that and it just makes it that extra special. But because I have been able to experience that unconditional love for so much time without the romantic, I'm also able to separate and distinguish it and experience that with you without having to be like, oh, it has to be romantic. It has to be this way. And okay, like I have those feelings as just one layer of so many other things that are going on. Because the other thing I was telling you, that in a relationship, whether it's romantic or not, something I really want, actually in a romantic relationship, when I was decoding the archetype, I was saying something I would want is not just a partner, but also a friend, also a teacher. I want a powerful teacher. I want someone who will make me learn new things, make me explore new sides of myself. And that is something you were bringing. That was very powerful. And I think, like the whole metaphor that I came up with is that you were like a volcano that did not just erupt, but it exploded. The mountain that was the shell of my single me, and then all these feelings just exploded out. And I was at the same time acting like a hurricane in your life, uprooting you from wherever you were, but also a lot of shifts and transformations for you. So what I termed it was us meeting in Brazil was like a hurricane meeting a volcano, and what emerged from that was a tsunami of all this transformation and just waves and waves of change, and we are just flowing with it and seeing whatever happens.
So I would put myself in the shoes of somebody who is listening, because I have a lot of people in my life who would listen to this and be like, oh, but that's not possible. That's not possible. One of you is acting. Something is underneath the surface. There's always some hidden expectations still. Like even my partner, the last partner in Portugal, he would be like, oh, you don't know how men think. All men have secret intentions.
We said that in 2 episodes back, or 3, I don't know what number this will be, but in episode number 3, we were literally talking about that men have this strong programming.
Yeah.
I have to own, I have to be with her.
Yeah. So I guess my question would be then for you, if somebody has that programming, how can they release it? How can they reprogram from being so possessive or with expectations or with hidden agendas and being so attached to how things are supposed to unfold, and actually be free that, you know what, I can be friends with someone that I'm romantically interested in, and it doesn't feel wrong? Like, does it make you feel stuck, or like, are you suffering because of that? No.
That's the thing I was telling you, is that one of the things I realized is that mindset that you're talking about always focuses on what I don't have, on what is missing. Oh, I don't have the relationship. Oh, she is not my girlfriend. And what I have been experiencing for the last 2 weeks and the last 3 days, it's only been 3 days since you arrived that we are recording this. So this is day number 4. So what I have been experiencing in the last 4 days is just, I am really enjoying what is happening. And there is no focus on what is missing. That storyteller, that ego part that comes from the insecurity, that wants something more all the time, is grasping, craving something more, is just not there. And that is not there because I did the work before for years. But you have to do the work. There is no secret formula to just release it. You have to work with that, with those insecurities where you feel like this person will do something for me, will complete me. And you have to start realizing that I can be complete in myself. You can do the work of completing yourself, and then whether it is the same relationship that you're already in or a new relationship, you will start meeting the other person completely differently. Because I don't think you need to move countries. I don't think you need to change relationships. I don't think you need to do anything on the outside. The shift has to take place internally, and everything will start changing on the outside automatically.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Yeah. Um,
And the thing is, like, I have not kept anything hidden. I am saying, like, I really like you, I love you, and I would love to be in a relationship with you, not have you, but not now. I don't even think I am ready for it now. And if it doesn't happen, this was a question a couple of people asked me, is like, oh, like, what if all this happens and then she is still not interested? She still doesn't. I'm like, that is a complete possibility. And what is my real risk here? What is the worst thing I'm going to experience? Is pain. That's it. I'm going to experience heartbreak of, if that expectation is there inside me of I wanted her, that expectation disappointment, I'm going to experience that disappointment. And maybe I will not even, because I'm not holding on to that expectation. I'm not expecting to own you. I'm not even expecting to be with you in any definite way. Like, I'm getting to be with you now. And I'm enjoying that. I'm loving that. So I'm getting what I want. So what am I disappointed about? And eventually there will be heartbreak in any relationship. You make yourself vulnerable. You make yourself, or you experience love. Part of love is the pain of it changing. I'm not saying ending, I'm not saying losing, but it changes. It changes shape, it changes form. And in that, there is, maybe, I don't know how I will experience it, because I am a completely different person. I feel like a lot of that pain comes from ego programs being disappointed. But I really feel about death that it's a celebration, it's the opening to something new. And for me, I believe, I'm not saying it will be that way, but I really believe that however this evolves, I will just be happy. Like, okay, it's a change. There is space for something new. My track record is usually I find something I love even more. So I left a job to find another job that I loved even more. So maybe I will love someone even more than you. That is my track record.
I think what you said about focusing on what you're experiencing rather than what's missing is a really important thing for people to grasp and apply in their lives, because our minds are unfortunately programmed to always focus on what's missing, on the lack, on scarcity, on in all shapes and forms. Like, it doesn't have to be also only when it comes to relationships. It's also like, oh, I don't know, money is missing, or engagement ring is missing, or whatever, a house is missing, a fancy car is missing. But what is it that you can focus on that is present? What is it that you can be grateful for? What is it that you can appreciate when it comes to relationships? Indeed, like, what kind of relationship, what kind of dynamics, what kind of what do you benefit from it? What's the value that this person is bringing you? What's the value that that relationship is bringing you? What kind of lessons are you learning from that relationship, from that person, from that dynamic, from that lifestyle, or whatever it is? And if you start to teach your brain to focus on the things that you can be grateful for, versus, instead of focusing on everything that's missing, then you will feel so much more fulfilled. And that is what makes you magnetic. Like, the fact that you don't need me, for example.
Ooh.
Exactly.
I'm magnetic.
Yes, you become magnetic because you don't need me.
Yeah.
because you are not attached, you're not needy, you don't come across with your energy as if you need me for your well-being or for your fulfillment or for anything. That's why you're just whole in itself, and it's like, okay, yes, you are magnetic. Ooh. Ooh.
If not you, the ladies out there can hear it. So I think that just, I forgot what I was going to say.
It threw you off completely.
No, that joke, I loved that joke so much. It's not a joke. The ladies out there are it's not a joke, but I was going to say what? Anyway, what were you saying just before that? You were saying something.
I was saying about instead of focusing on what's missing, to train your brain, basically, to practice focusing on the things that you can be grateful for right now. Because when you focus, it's also quantum physics. When you focus on what you can be grateful for, and that could also be in imagined acts. If you focus on something that you envision yourself to experience, and you keep on perpetuating, you keep on reinforcing that, it builds that new belief in yourself that that's possible, and it grows and it amplifies. So if you focus on things that you can be grateful for, I don't know, like relationship with your grandma. My relationship with grandma, I'm really grateful for the fact that she's still alive and I can still call her and we can still have conversations. Okay, great. That is reinforcing my sense of fulfillment, myself, happiness, my joy, my peace, and it translates into every other aspect of my life. So what are the things that you can be focusing on that kind of fill your cup, fill yourself, and then you can direct that energy in other ways, in the right way.
I remember what I was going to say is that the magic that has been experienced by riding the waves of the tsunami instead of planning everything has been so much more than whatever I could have planned or imagined through my ego. Like, if I was trying to manipulate and be like, oh, if I tell her too soon, maybe she says no. If I invite her to Brazil and she says no, it will become awkward and things will be bad. And like, if I had gone with all that, like, what would be the usual ego talk of a normal person? I would have not been able to experience any of this magic. And it's not like I have also been flirting with you very often. Like, yeah, I like you, and why should I not? Like, that is what my natural feeling is, like, to say something flirty and like, okay, it's okay.
I'm shocked about the fact that he can flirt.
Yeah, because it's been 9 years since I've done any of that. So maybe I lost the skills, but actually the skills. But I think they've been even better than ever before. Like you were saying, like, wow, you're on
what?
Like you were impressed by the float. But that's the thing is, it's been so natural, it's been so organic that I have not had to plan anything, and so much more is happening than I could have ever planned for. Like in 2 weeks to be sitting next to you and having these kinds of experiences, there's no way my ego could have planned it and manipulated that into existence.
Yeah.
So yeah, ride the tsunami instead of going on that slow caravan of step-by-step manipulation. Like just do something different, do something radical.
It's just yet again let go of the German and let go of the Germanness and but yeah, just let go of the old way. And I named one of our previous videos letting go of the same old reality. And I mean, that same old reality didn't make you happy, didn't make you feel fulfilled, didn't make you feel like you're in the right place, didn't make you feel joyful and peaceful, then maybe it's about time to do things differently and to let go of all this Germanness and go with the flow of this tsunami. Maybe it's about time to surrender to the flow of life, because more often than not, there are so many signs and signals that we ignore completely. And to me, that was the sign, like just the invitation to go to Brazil. It was like, my first reaction was like, what the fuck, what I would do there? Like, I don't have anything to do with Brazil. Are you crazy? But
And
then
wait, it's not just Brazil. It's not like a nice city, big city in Brazil where everything is normal. I invited you to the fucking corner of nowhere in the jungle of Brazil.
yeah.
It is a very crazy invitation. Like, people need to understand the degree of craziness in this invitation. You're talking for like when I made the invitation to you, that was our 10th ever conversation. I invited you after telling you that I like you to the middle of nowhere in Brazil. And one of the questions,
And my question was, are they going to sell my organs
but
there?
that was after we bought the ticket, after we booked the house. 2 days later, you're like, are you going to sell my organs? It's like, good time to ask the question. And then the next day you ask me, is it safe? Is Brazil safe? Like, good time to ask the question.
It's a bit too late.
So yeah, it's the thing is, what is the worst thing that can happen is rejection. This is what people are most afraid of, is rejection. And if you can let go that fear, or not let go, but actually have the fear, realize I have this fear, have your heart beating. That I had some of that in that experience where I was expressing to you that, some part of me was like, oh, oh, oh. But have that and do it anyway. What is the worst that happens? You experience rejection, you experience pain. Realize that it's temporary. Realize that you can move past it, and there will be another awesome person you will meet, and you can say the same thing to them, and they will say no again, and you will say the same thing. After 10 times, someone will probably say yes. And if not, 20 times, 100 times. If not, what happens? You die single. You're going to die single anyway if you don't do any of that. So why not just do it? At least you increase your chances, you increase the probability of someone saying yes. If you don't do it, it's a guaranteed no forever.
What's really important for people to understand is that what rejection,
What is important for people to understand is that courage is sexy.
courage is very sexy. Consciousness is very sexy.
Yes.
That
Consciousness, courage, being bold, being transparent.
Yes.
That is sexy.
Yes. Yes. And what's really important for people to understand is that they make a meaning out of everything. And that potential rejection will mean something about me. But if you know that your value is invaluable, that you can't measure it actually, because it's unshakable, that your worthiness, and you know it deep down, that nothing can ever shake you in any shape or form, in any way, no matter what anybody else does, then it doesn't freaking matter. And if you just ground yourself in that knowingness, in that conviction, then so what that they will reject? It doesn't mean anything anyway. Only because we put meaning on it.
It's not even a rejection. It's just that word is just a story.
Exactly.
Like, okay, I like her. She doesn't like me. So what?
I love her even more now.
Yeah, that happened. But yeah, so what if she doesn't want to talk to me anymore? Okay, it's painful, but at least I'm not wasting my time anymore in having a fraction of a relationship. I can go explore with someone else to have something full. This is a very important insight, is that people compromise for this because they're afraid that they will get a no for this. So they accept that poor life, be like, okay, at least I can have this. At least I can like hold on to this tiny sliver instead of getting the whole pie. But the fear of, oh, I will lose the whole pie and I will not even have that sliver, it's a miserable existence. And is that what you want to settle for? Do you just want to keep settling for holding on to those crumbs, even in your job, a lot of people don't let go of their job because, oh, if I let go of my job and I don't get anything else, that's the end of my life. No, you are a creator. You can create things. You can do things. You can create a reality. And if you don't know how, get help. There are people who can teach you how to do that. If you don't know how to ride the tsunami, give us a call.
We're definitely experts in that. So just to wrap it up, I think what it comes down to is, if you know your worth, if you know your value and you are grounded in it, then you trust your gut, your instinct, and you go for it. You step out of your comfort zone to step into your authentic comfort zone, then nothing will ever stop you and shake you. And no matter what happens, including relationships, is going to be worth it. And it just makes you more you. It makes you a more embodied, authentic, raw you. And that's the beauty of living a life at the end of the day, because too many people on this planet live a robotic life, and not enough people in relationships, as this is the topic of today, are pretending and playing a role of being a partner, a boyfriend, girlfriend, a spouse, while actually they're not being real. And that is my invitation for everyone, to be more yourself, with yourself and with others.
I again forgot what I was going to say, but doesn't matter. I spoke a lot. We spoke a lot. So, yeah. We are recording this part 1 week after. So it's a follow-up from whatever we were sharing last week. And it's a continuation of whatever happened in the last week, which was also very interesting. Because last week I was sharing about how the last 3 weeks have been very interesting, unfolding in very interesting ways, where we were exploring different dimensions of our friendship. And there was the aspect of romantic feelings. So in the last week, somehow very spontaneously, I ended up asking you the question of, do you think that you will ever have romantic feelings towards me? Which was a very direct and vulnerable question for both. And I guess you can also talk about how you experienced that question before and how people have reacted to that before. And then I can also talk about what all that unfolded within me, because it was very interesting, the unfolding of the response of that. So
yeah, so that conversation happened maybe a week since my arrival to Brazil. So since actually physically meeting you in person. And it gave us both time to also feel into just hanging out together and getting to know each other better and doing things, traveling around a little bit, having very deep conversations. And that question came up very unexpectedly as we were just having a meal, and suddenly it came up like, do you think it's a never? That was the specific question. And well, although it was unexpected, at the same time, it felt very comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time, because it was vulnerable. It was very transparent and honest. But then I was like, is it really a never? And how do I feel answering that question really openly without kind of, hiding in the bush and like trying to make you feel good or people please. And so in the past, when something like this would have happened, I have done it many times, but usually that's why my reaction was kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to lose you as a friend. I don't want to get in the way of what we have built so far. And within a very short period of time, even prior to meeting in person, we have built a very, very strong foundation, a very strong connection. And that's always a big question mark when somebody asked me this question. So that was an immediate reaction, like, holy shit, like whatever I'm going to say, it might mean something that I might lose you, or I might hurt you, or I might cause pain, or it might damage what we have. Maybe we will start fading away from each other and things like that. And, those kind of reactions are, I even told you yesterday, I think, that 99.9999% of the time, it involves pain somehow, one way or another. And this time when I was answering the question, which was like, yes, it is a never. And it just came so naturally. And somehow I knew that whatever the answer is going to be, you will be able to handle it in a very mature way without suddenly being like a child who didn't get a candy. So I was like, whatever the answer is going to be, it's exactly what needs to happen, because otherwise I can't be honest with myself if I'm not honest with you. And so it felt really good. And then it was actually really surprising to me to see how quickly you shifted. Like within that same meal time, you were already completely fine with the answer. So from my perspective, it was probably the first time in my life when it felt very effortless, and it even deepened our connection to an extent that's I've never experienced before. That really, there's definitely a way for a man and a woman be friends without romantic expectation from each other. And it was just like, oh, this is so beautiful. And it was like this heaviness was lifted off the shoulders, and like, oh, that's so nice. It's so amazing to have this deep connection and trust that anything is fine and I can be fully myself.
Yeah, from my side also, the question came out very unexpectedly. I was not planning to ask that question. At the same time, I think, like you said, it was the right time in a sense, because I personally don't just want to be hanging on when there is nothing possible. And at the same time, when I heard never, for me, it was, I before you answered it, when you even asked me, are you sure you want me to answer that? I was like, yeah, like I did not have any doubts whether I want you to answer that or not. But in those few seconds, there was this inner dialogue going on that probably if she says never, then I will feel pain. Wasn't like I wasn't sure if I will feel pain or not, but like that was the kind of feeling like, oh, if I hear a never, I will feel some pain.
Plus, oh, never doesn't exist. Oh, come on, that's I accept the challenge.
Well, all that was, yeah, but there was there would be the normal thing that if you hear that, you feel pain. But then when you said never, I was checking in with myself, and I was just feeling whatever I wanted, whatever I needed to feel, or whatever was coming up. And what came up was very unexpected for me. Like there was no pain, And I kind of realized that the reason that there was no pain was that there were no expectations. And that's something I had felt from the beginning, is that I have my feeling, but I don't expect anything in return. And that's fine. And if nothing ever materializes, I was always open to that possibility. So, and I was actually not, I had never even thought of any other possibility of like us being together. It was just like, okay, I have these feelings, but it's not like in my head I was imagining some life where we are together. So it really felt like nothing actually got disappointed. So there was no pain. And then something even more strange happened, is that suddenly I started feeling a huge relief, because I started realizing that unconsciously I was feeling a pressure that if I have these feelings and they are reciprocated, then it will become something very conventional, which for me is a prison, and which I knew I did not want. So when I heard never, I was like, fuck, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be in a prison. So suddenly I was super relieved, and even I started feeling much lighter, and a big burden was gone. And then it just felt like the whole romantic layer, like it just separated, and like it's gone. And there's so much more than that already. And then even more depth got added. Like you said, there's much more depth and more vulnerability and more openness, that we can actually even ask such powerful questions, uh, direct questions, and it doesn't matter.
Mm. And how did you feel when it comes to my ability to answer it transparently?
Yeah, it's courageous. It's very courageous, because I knew the background of you losing people because they could not handle the rejection. So I kind of realized that I did not realize it when I asked the question, but I later realized like that is a very vulnerable question for you, because there's a lot of stuff attached for you. So it is powerful for you to just answer that transparently and overcome the fear and just be like, yeah, I have to do it.
Yeah, especially because, like I said, with 99.9% of the time, it's most of the times when it happened and people were rejected, they said or expressed or appeared as if it's not a big deal, but actually it always felt a little bit like there's still hidden expectation and hope, maybe. And like they say, hope lies last. So it felt like it, as if it's like, okay, it's a no, but actually it's like, but maybe she's gonna change her mind, and maybe there's still some hope, and maybe I will just be more charming from now on, or something. And in this case, it was just like, okay, whatever happens, happens. And it's more beautiful than it could ever be, really.
Yeah. And like you put the rejection in air quotes, and what is the rejection really? Like the question is, if you will ever have that particular feeling or whatever. There's so many reasons. There's so many. It's so subjective. So if you don't, you don't. What's the
Yeah,
big deal?
absolutely. And well, the thing is that when people experience rejection from the past, then they create stories what it means about them. And like automatically it's those feelings come up just based on the past experience. Like, oh, somebody doesn't love me, so I'm not worthy. Oh, somebody rejects me, so I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not good enough to date someone like this. I don't deserve to date someone like this. I don't deserve to be around a person like this. And then all this, putting someone on a pedestal suddenly puts you in these very hierarchical positions, which reinforces over time. And every time people potentially want to introduce themselves to someone or open up their feelings to someone, then they imagine like, oh, what if the same thing happens? What if I will get hurt again? What if I get rejected again? What if I feel abandoned again? What if I don't feel XYZ? And now a question to you then, how did you manage to rewrite those narratives so that those kind of programs weren't alive within you? Like, you know, from the past, whatever happened in the past, if anything like this happened, that suddenly now it wasn't a big deal.
Well, I dealt with a lot of unworthiness my whole life. I used to feel like I'm unworthy. And because I was so much on that extreme, I had no option but to heal when I started realizing how I feel, because it was very dysfunctional. You can't actually be functional in society if you feel that unworthy, unless you're taking a lot of drugs or some way of compensating that unworthiness by doing something else. Either you're achieving a lot of success or something, like you're doing something to compensate for that inherent unworthiness. And I realized like I don't want to do any of that anymore. Like, I did all of that. I did substances, I did the material achievement and all of that. And then I was like, it's not working. So finally I came around to just making myself feel worthy for just existing. Nothing more. I don't need to do anything. Just the way I am is fine.
And that's key, because so many people are, like you said, either they're abusing drugs or people pleasing. And I know people like that who want to be liked and popular and be seen as the good guys or girls and always do the right thing. And yet deep down, they come back home and they feel lonely and they feel unseen and unheard and misunderstood and not valued and so on. Well, why? Because they don't value themselves first and foremost. And how can you feel valued by other people if you don't value yourself? So it's never going to feel enough. Even if, like you say, maybe you achieve certain things and tick some boxes, still it won't feel enough. You come back home in front of, 4 walls and you're like, oh, I'm lonely. Oh, and I'm worthless. And I look at myself in the mirror and I don't respect that person. I'm not proud of that person. I can't even look at myself in the mirror and straight in my eyes because it feels uncomfortable. And I think this is a great exercise also for people to really start embracing looking themselves in the mirror and really stare in your own eyes and be like, how can I love this person for who they are? Just for existing, like you said, to be okay with who I am, imperfectly perfect. And it doesn't matter that somebody doesn't accept me or want me. It's actually just a redirection. And it reminds me also a little bit like my whole dating experience, or like my dating career, as I call it, of, I would say, almost 20 years now. I've never been broken up with, except one time. And the only thing that I experienced as rejection, it didn't ever feel like a rejection, because it was more like, oh, somebody doesn't like me back. Okay, no big deal. I just move on to someone else, or I just wait for the right person to appear in my life. So when I experienced a proper breakup, that was like, whoa, okay, this is the first time that I'm being broken up with. And somehow it hurt, of course. But at the same time, I felt like, oh, well, that's just opening a new door. Actually, I'm excited about it. Sure, it's painful. Sure, I was suffering for a little while. I missed that person because I really loved them. But at the same time, I knew that it cannot just happen for no reason. It cannot just happen and suddenly doesn't want to be with me, and that's end of the story. It's never the end of the story. There's something more exciting around the corner. So yeah, so a rejection is just a redirection, like a lot of people say.
I think also there is the idea that we were discussing in the last part, which was about ownership, like I think one of the ideas of like putting yourself out there and asking someone out is that in your head you're going to have them, and then when they say no, it's like you're losing something that you're potentially going to have, and then you feel a loss. Like I told you from the beginning, like even if there was something, the only desire was to be with you, and I'm still with you. Just there's different aspects, right? That's all. So I have not lost anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That like I think that is the work I have done a lot on myself, is not getting attached to something, not getting into this idea of owning something or having something. And that really helps to, like, you don't really feel pain, but you still get to feel very deep love and joy and everything.
What piece of advice would you give to people who still cling on to that idea of that one specific person? Because also on the internet, there is plenty of videos and articles when it comes to manifesting a specific person and being with a specific person, wanting a specific person, being obsessed with a specific person. And I think a lot of people, they just really suffer when they can't be with that person, and then they just dwell in that neediness and like I still want them, even though there are so many more people on this planet. And it's like, don't you think that it's kind of a waste of your lifetime to cling on to this one specific person? So what would be your piece of advice for those people to kind of just deal with it?
Well, for me, the one specific person that I am interested in is myself. Like, if you can change it to that and learn, like, you can be with yourself. That is something also a lot of people are not comfortable doing, is just to be with themselves. And that is why they need this other person to complete them. And that whole story is there. So if you can just learn to be with yourself, then whether the other person is there or not, whether it's one person fulfilling everything or one person who gives you certain aspects and then other person gives you another thing, then it doesn't matter, because you are okay with being with yourself.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. And that moment when you asked that question, what came up for me also, which I didn't even realize until now, it was just simply, is it a hell yes, or is it a maybe? And to me, a maybe is a no. And so because it was a hell, a no, and not a hell yes, then I was like, oh, well, it's a clear answer then. So like in your case, then if you realize that you don't actually want a conventional relationship, and you don't really want to put yourself in this prison, for me it was like, well, if I want to be in a relationship, which I would like to experience that, as I have experienced that in the past, and it was really beautiful, and so it didn't work out for whatever reason, but I can see the magic in being in a relationship. But then I thought, I have been waiting for a special person, and I have been attracting special people. And to me, it doesn't mean that you are not special. It's just, it means that you're not special to me in that way. And so that's why it felt like, okay, it's not a hell yes. And that's why it just would be kind of a waste of somehow trying to mold something into this jigsaw puzzle where actually it's not really meant to work. And I think a lot of people fall into that trap, like, oh, but maybe it's a maybe. And I used to be like this as well. When I wasn't really jumping from relationship to relationship necessarily, but it was more like after a long-term relationship ended, then I was like rationalizing, oh, maybe I should date someone who's completely the opposite of that, completely the other extreme. And then that wouldn't work. And then I would jump to something completely different again, and that wouldn't work. And then I was like, wait a second, I should just stop trying and mold myself into something rationally and just follow my heart more and follow my instincts, because I know that it works. So how can I trust that intuition, whether it's a hell yes or it's a no, and just follow it?
Yeah. I just thought of, one of the questions that people could have is that, isn't it weird or isn't it awkward that now you said that you will never have these feelings and I have these feelings? Or, well, first, I don't even know, like those feelings have not actually come up since asking that question. It's just like, I really feel like that those feelings just kind of faded. But there is still love. So it's a different type of love. But do you feel like there's been any awkwardness or weirdness?
Zero. I think what happens is that I became even closer to you as a soulmate. So I knew that there was something like a soulmate with you to begin with, but then it amplified that feeling even more. And I think that's also something that people misunderstand, that a soulmate doesn't automatically mean that it has to be a romantic relationship. And it can be called as twin flames also, but it's more of enhancing each other and helping each other grow, not necessarily by doing something specific for each other or with each other. It's just the combination of being around and having those conversations and experiences together somehow just helps the growth and fasten it, and it becomes this exponential journey to go even deeper within yourself and deeper in connection with the other person and with the world as a whole. So there was no awkwardness whatsoever. It's just like, okay, that's another confirmation that when you are in that vibration of being pure and being transparent, then you attract those kind of people, and it doesn't automatically doesn't mean that it's like some kind of a specific relationship. It's just something to create. We're creating a relationship now, right? And we've been creating it since the very beginning. So it's not something that is predefined how it's supposed to unfold. We're just creating it as we go.
Yeah. It's weird if you make it weird. Like if you start behaving like, oh, she said that, now what? And like you start with all these stories in your head, you make it weird. But you're just like, okay, that happened. Life moves on.
Yeah. No strings attached, no resentment held. Like it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's all stories, right? Like weird is such a story in the head. I live a super weird life. So for me, like weird doesn't really exist.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, the important bit is, again, for people to realize and keep on remembering that everything is a story. And when something comes up, maybe it might come up, when something like this happens, it's like, oh shit, okay, I'm creating this meaning about what this whole rejection thing means about me. And it's like, wait a second, actually, I can zoom out, detach from that story, and look at it like objectively. Does it actually make sense, or is it just a story that for whatever reason is playing out in my subconscious mind? Can I just release it? Can I play with it? Can I change it? Can I replace it with something healthier? Because it's even not really healthy to have all these stories. So it also doesn't make you happy at the end. It just makes you suffer. So then it's like, okay, I can actually choose different. Doesn't mean that you need to neglect your feelings and suppress them. No, it's more like, okay, what is happening? How can I choose differently? Let's move on.
Yeah. And to start realizing that your stories can cause suffering or joy or whatever you want, right? Like if the story you start telling yourself is, oh, she said no to me, and this is what it means, and I am not good enough for her, and you start with all of this, you start feeling like shit. And then you keep going, keep going, keep going. Or you don't even need to enter that, and you're just like, okay, she doesn't like me. Okay, she doesn't like me.
I like you.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't like me romantically. Okay, she doesn't like me. It's nothing to do with me. It's her.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's your shit.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're missing out on.
I already told you that.
So from the last episode when you were like, oh, all the ladies, he's available.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, whatever story you make up, you have to start realizing that you are making up that story in your head and you're causing whatever feelings that you're having from that story. So you have to start working on dropping those stories. And it won't just happen by saying, oh, I won't say this story anymore, because the mind is very powerful. The part which is creating that story is not just in your head. It's coming from deep insecurities. So it's not just, oh, I will stop saying that in my head. No, you have to go to that emotion where you're feeling insecure and work there and say, okay, it's her. I am okay. I am still okay. It doesn't mean anything about me. I am fine. That is the level at which you start healing.
Bam. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's a good place to close.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.